These doctors on social media, I almost, I see stuff and, you know, I'm just almost losing my mind when I see some of this stuff that doctors are writing. So many doctors are on social media now, and I didn't understand this, but they're making money from their channels on social media, right? And they are hiring staff to manage that and create their content, like get together, decide what they're going to do for content for likes, and for decide what kind of posts they're going to make, and to generate traffic and generate likes on their channels, right? I never really thought about that, but I don't care about that either way. It doesn't matter. But well, it does, because it will affect their content. So for example, they will be posting stuff to catch your attention, or they'll be posting content that might generate controversy, right? So that they get likes and a lot of traffic and a lot of comments and stuff. But so for a bunch of these doctors, their online presence has become part of their business, part of their income. And that's not what I care about. I care about some of the content I'm seeing, and some people have written to me and said, "Oh yeah, I hate all doctors too and stuff." You know what? I don't hate all doctors. There are good doctors, there are bad doctors, there's everything in between, just like there are patients, right? There's good patients, there's nightmare patients. There's patients who've been made into nightmares because of the medical harm that, has happened to them. I saw this post this doctor wrote about how he's morally injured from a patient making a formal complaint against him. How he's morally injured. So how he's psychologically in distress. You know what? How many doctors have you seen that can no longer make money because of what a patient did to them? How many doctors have you seen in a wheelchair or walking with a cane because of what a patient did to them? How many doctors have you seen die as a result of what a doctor has done to them? How many doctors have you seen take their lives because of what a doctor has done to them? How many doctors have you seen disabled and living in poverty because of what a patient has done to them? Like, some of the stuff I'm seeing, it's just outrageous. And you know what? I they wouldn't be that thoughtless, making this whole entire post that they're like mortally wounded because someone made a formal complaint against them. If they heard the other side, and I really think, I've said this to doctors, and there are doctors who've actually told me that they've learned stuff from following me. And there have been doctors who have followed me and engaged in, like, challenging me on my story, and realized that what I'm saying is true. And I think, and this will never happen, but maybe tiny bits by bit by bit, doctors and patients engaging with each other on social media, maybe very, a tiny bit can change. But I really think we all need to come to the table, and this will never happen. We all need to come to the table and tell our stories. All the doctors and all the patients come to the table and tell all our horror stories, and the public needs to see that as well. And everyone will walk away changed. And because there's lots of things doctors have told me that have softened my heart towards them or made me realize that, you know, it's not a picnic for them either. And but you know what? It's like the majority of doctors out there have no idea what their colleagues are doing to patients. They have no idea the extent of the injuries and how many people are being injured and disabled and poisoned by accident and injured, and they have no clue. And probably 90% of this goes unreported. And doctors get on social media and they're talking about this, that, the other thing. They have no idea. Or they're making and nurses too, content about kind of gently making fun of patients and mental health patients, psych patients. Really, it still is the Wild West, and there's no one to guide them. There's no, like some of them have no clue of what is inappropriate and what isn't. God, there's some stuff nurses have posted just totally outrageous and so offensive towards. There are really, really bad nurses out there, and then there are really wonderful ones. For one person, me, all the stories that I know of myself and my husband and my daughter and my mom being injured, all the stories I have just from those people alone being injured, like broken bones, brain damage, nervous system damage, prescribed overdoses, disability, long-term misdiagnosis, injured during surgery, all the cover-ups I've seen. And you'd think I'd be in my 80s or something. All the stories I know just from people close to me about medical harm. And 99% goes unreported. And doctors are not hearing about 99% of it or 100% of it. They don't know what their colleagues, they have no clue of how many injuries are happening out here, how many people are being disabled, how many people's lives have permanently changed because of medical harm. And I read these posts and, oh my God. And then there's stuff, I learn about them as well. Like these doctors who, were speaking up during the COVID thing, and these doctors who were speaking the truth and boldly coming forward. Well, I don't think most people realize that a lot of these doctors were being threatened by their disciplinary board, receiving threatening letters to, if they don't shut up, that they'll be reprimanded, or they'll get their license taken away, or they'll have to do a psych evaluation. You know how medically injured people, they try to say that, oh, well, that never happened, you're crazy. They try to, they try to attack your mental health or your credibility. Well, the same goes for doctors who are speak up. They're speaking the truth and they're going against the general narrative. And these doctors who have spoken up their opinion on COVID, or the COVID, jab, or they're speaking the truth about psychiatry, or, if they're going against the narrative, the current narrative, these doctors are getting threatening letters, and they're being reprimanded by their disciplinary board. And they're being threatened with psychiatry, some of them. And they're being threatened with the police. I know one of them, the police went to their house. I know one, they were threatened by psychiatry. There were doctors taking their lives because they were so persecuted by, not that I know of in Canada, but other countries. Because they were so persecuted by speaking their opinion that went against the narrative, and then you become scapegoated, and then it's the isolation and it's the isolation that gets to people, gets to whistleblowers, and it's the blow to your credibility, right? When 3,000 people are saying one thing and you're the only one standing up and saying something that goes against the narrative. And then, one doctor, I saw them suggest, that they have mental health issues because of their opinion on informed consent. Not even a hostile, outright negative. They weren't saying something outright hostile. They were promoting informed consent. They weren't telling people not to do this or not to do that. They were promoting informed consent, and it was suggested to them that they don't know what they're talking about. Maybe they have mental health issues. So, and if they do have mental health issues, their license is under threat. Like they're not supposed to show any weakness. I heard of a story of a doctor who drove miles and miles and miles to seek out counseling and to actually get a prescription for, like, I don't know if it was an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety drug, but they had to drive way out of their area so that no one would detect that they're taking a medication, because it would be a strike against them. So there's lots of stuff about patients. There's lots of stuff that patients don't know about doctors, that it's not easy. And they have ventured into they ventured into that profession not fully knowing, this is what I think, not fully knowing what they're getting into, and they're supposed to follow the narrative. Anyways,